Everyone says bad boys are nothing but trouble. Never date one, never marry one, but the one I got? He spoils me like a princess. I was scrolling TikTok and came across a video about modern-day delinquents. I burst out laughing and held my phone out to him. You used to be just like this. Your pants were always too short. Ethan buried his face in the crook of my neck. I've gone straight now. Don't bring up ancient history. A few days prior, I'd posted 100 photos online. From age 18 to 30, they documented every chapter of our love story. A week later, the post hit 5 million likes. It even sparked a whole trend about young, long-term married couples. Some comments said they wanted to steal me away. Others said they'd take Ethan instead. Ethan hopped on his main account and left a dead serious comment. Nobody ships us together? What about taking both of us? His fans hyped him up so much that he went live right then and there. Giddy and smug, he bragged that I, the straight a good girl, had fallen for him at first sight and practically thrown myself at him. I immediately pulled out the receipts. A whole album of secret photos he'd taken of me back when he was crushing on me from afar. Ethan doubled over laughing. Babe, you were so dorky cute back then. Adorable. I started hitting and kicking him playfully. And you think you were some hot shot? You were a total try-hard punk. Ethan and I barely crossed paths back in high school. I'd gotten into the city school from a tiny rural town, with an entrance exam score 50 points higher than the local cutoff. My hometown was the kind of remote village where you had to take a local bus to the coach station, then ride a rickety coach for 3 whole hours to get anywhere. Ethan didn't come from money either, but at least he grew up in the city proper. School was never his thing. Though he'd been coasting since middle school, he always sat in the back row, didn't study, didn't sleep, didn't cause trouble, just slacked off. We really had nothing to do with each other. I never would have guessed later that he'd had a crush on me all that time, and that he thought a delinquent and a good girl were a perfect match. He dropped out senior year and got an apprenticeship at a tattoo parlor only 2 blocks from school. He dyed his hair blonde, dressed like a total street punk, and had a tattoo on the inside of his wrist. I'd turn and run the second I saw him. It wasn't like I fled from every random delinquent, but this guy fought hard, fought dirty. There was an all-you-can-eat diner on South Maple Street, $12 a head. I'd go there on weekends to treat myself. It was cheap for a reason. Way off the beaten path, run out of the owner's own house so he paid no rent, and most regulars were just nearby locals. I went every week, and I wouldn't leave until I was so full I could barely walk. Getting back to campus from South Maple Street was a hike. You had to wind through 3 or 4 side streets lined with old apartment buildings and messy narrow alleys. That's where I saw Ethan fighting once. He was brutal, 2 against 1, and they didn't stand a chance. It really freaked me out. After that, I avoided him like the plague. When I collected homework, I'd skip right over his desk. If you can't fight him, avoid him. How did I find out he was apprenticing at that tattoo parlor? Because I got a job there to front desk, plus part-time online marketing. One day I showed up for my shift with my backpack on, and Ethan was squatting on the sidewalk smoking. I saw him, kept my eyes straight ahead, and marched right past him into the shop. Ethan stepped in my way. He saw me frown. Bothered by the smoke? I stared at him and said nothing. Your dad doesn't smoke. Nope. He clicked his tongue and stubbed the cigarette out. Figures you'd only call me out on it. The boss smokes like a chimney when he's designing, and I never hear you say a word. I didn't say anything just now either. He laughed. Fine. I'm just real good at reading you. Happy? He had a really nice laugh. I had to get inside. As I walked past him, he said, You're a senior. If you don't need the money, don't work here. It'll mess with your studies. I didn't answer, but if you do need money, I've got you. I stared at him, stunned. He leaned against the wall, lazy smile on his face. I'm serious. I'll cover your costs for as long as you're in school. College too. I was too shocked to speak. We weren't family, weren't even friends. Why would he go that far for me? I'll be fully trained by the end of the year, he said. Next year I'll be taking my own clients. Ethan's ears were bright red. He bolted right after he said it. Naturally, I didn't take him seriously. I had no idea what his angle was. Though I'd seen him eating cheap filler hot dogs for himself while buying real beef franks for the stray cats in the back alley. Though I'd seen him help an old lady cross the street. No joke, she'd showed up at the shop the next day with a bag of tangerines to thank him. And though he had a short fuse, whenever someone came picking fights, he always stepped in front of the boss to protect him. All in all, Ethan wasn't a bad guy, but how could I accept his money? Apprentices only made $2,000 a month. I kept working my shifts when I could, lived frugally, and earned my own living expenses, but on payday, Ethan got my number and sent me $1,000 out of the blue via Venmo. For your cram school fees at the end of the term, I'll send you the same amount next payday too. There was no way I could take that. No way I dare. I sent it right back. Ethan texted again. It's clean money. What are you so scared of? I meant what I said about putting you through school. It's not much now, but when I make more, I'll send more. The money was clean, but the guy sending it, and whatever this was, I couldn't take it. I sent it back again and told him firmly not to bring it up again. We weren't anything to each other. It was way too inappropriate. Did all that studying rot your brain? Free money and you won't take it? Ethan plopped down at the front desk and nagged me the second he came in. You're a senior in high school. Why are you here working instead of studying? You eat like a bird. It's not like you cost much. I can totally afford it. I've got nobody to spend money on. How am I supposed to stay motivated to earn? I stared at him, wide-eyed. Was he really all alone? Yep, just me. No family left. Ethan gave a lazy grin. I'm serious. No weird motives. Just gives me something to work for, and if you feel like it someday, we'll meet at the top, and you can repay me by marrying me. I grabbed my thick exercise book and whacked him over the head with it. Shut up. Whoa, tough guy. Ethan caught my wrist mid-swing. Next time someone comes picking a fight, you gonna protect me, hero? I yanked my hand away and stared down at my shoes. Couldn't be bothered with him. Just kidding. I don't have any weird plans. Just focus on school. Once you graduate, making money'll be way easier for you. I never took the money. Not until after the 100-day countdown rally for senior finals. I realized my grades had slipped a lot from working, so I finally decided to ask to borrow the money. I planned to pay it back with bank interest once I got into a good college. I'd tutor on the side, make money fast, and pay him back. Ethan sent me $5,000 in one go, saved up 5 months worth for you. I said it's a gift, interest? Come on, don't insult me. I had no idea how someone could be so dumb. Wasn't he scared I'd skip town after the exam and he'd never see me again? I took the money and threw myself into studying. I didn't go back to the tattoo parlor after that. Then one Saturday, a close friend from my dorm went home with her parents. She'd been stressed out and struggling with depression. Suddenly the dorm felt suffocating, so I went out for a walk. Somehow, I ended up at the tattoo parlor. It was tucked away in the old part of town. A small 3-story house the boss owned himself. Ethan was the only one there that day, bored out of his mind playing games, laughing and swearing under his breath, fingers flying over the controls. The second he saw me, he bailed on the game. His teammates screamed at him through the mic, but Ethan put out his cigarette and grinned. Well, the little steady robot finally takes a break. You eaten? Nope. Come on upstairs. He said it like he was about to wine and dine me. I figured he'd cooked up something nice. Turns out he just ripped open a few packs of smoked deli snacks and asked if I wanted a beer to unwind. I tugged the apron off his waist. You didn't even cook. Why are you wearing this? He scratched the back of his head. Figured if I wore it, it'd look like I put in the work, you know? I was speechless. Truly speechless. But I knew how to cook. I'd stood on a stool to fry rice when I was 5. By 10, I could make a whole feast. It was just me and my dad back home. Dad was in poor health, so we lived on welfare. But he had no bad habits, no smoking, no drinking, so we saved a little every year. He grew a few crops too. We never went hungry, but we never had extra money either. I whipped up 2 vegetable dishes in no time. I sliced the smoked chicken wings in half and stir-fried them with garlic and dried chili. Braised beef brisket bites with dill pickles, sour, spicy, and perfect for whetting the appetite. Plus a seaweed egg drop soup. A proper spread. Holy shit. Ethan stared, dumbfounded. I haven't had a real home-cooked meal in forever. Me, the boss, and Liam? We just eat deli snacks and beer every night. It had been forever since I'd eaten anything other than cafeteria food too. We both dug in, and by the end, everything was gone except the soup. I even had 2 beers, felt amazing. I could hold my liquor, had a bigger tolerance than my dad, even. Especially when I was stressed. Drinking always made it better. Ethan stared at me in shock. I'm never calling you a bird appetite girl again. I shot him a look. It's not that much. Right. Ethan nodded. Guess I'll just have to make more money to keep you fed. I heard Ethan finished his apprenticeship way faster than Liam, the other apprentice. He was good looking, so he drew in female clients, and his skills were solid, so everyone wanted him, guys and girls alike. About a month before the exam, a student jumped from their 23-art floor apartment. There was nothing left but a mess. Maybe it was that cozy dinner, but I started getting restless. I began going to the tattoo parlor every weekend, once a week like clockwork, and every time, the boss would tease us. Peach's account's still going strong, you know all posts of your work. He slung an arm around Ethan's shoulders, grinning. How much you paying her anyway? She's out here promoting you like crazy. Ethan was smiling, trying to hide it. Half my net worth, obviously. Chi. The boss teased him for ages. I could take a joke. I laughed and said, Boss, if you pay me, I'll promote you too. The boss just smiled and headed out to run errands. But before he left, he said one more thing. Half your net worth. That's wife treatment, me. I've already got my eye on someone. The air went awkward real fast. Liam sounded disappointed. Oh, so you two are a thing? I was gonna ask Peach to promote my work too. Ethan's face went bright red. No, come on. Guys, what are you even saying? I said nothing. Whatever. I stopped going to the parlor after all the teasing, so where was I supposed to go on weekends? I got an idea pretty fast. I made a deal with Ethan. I'd go over to his place and cook for him. Ethan got home Saturday night to a table full of food. Well, hey there. Our little Peach just makes whatever she's craving, then calls it cooking for me, calls it doing me a favor and everything. I pointed at the stir-fried pork. You don't like this? I pointed at the sour spicy beef brisket. You don't like this? I pointed at the celery root slaw. You don't like this? I'd picked up these recipes from my uncle, the best home cook back in my hometown. He was getting the good stuff for free. Every time I named a dish, Ethan nodded, practically drooling. Just means we've got the same taste. That's all. He poured me a beer. Cheers. We had 3 meals together at his place, and then it was exam day the 7th. The test site was at one high school, right nearby. I didn't feel like renting a hotel room, so I stayed at his place. He walked me to the exam hall while I wrote the test. He sat in the convenience store across the street and waited. He waited through all 4 exams, and then I was free. I immediately started looking for tutoring jobs. My grades weren't top of the top, but I was solidly in the top 20 for math and science, so finding work was easy. I scheduled my time well, and in half a month I'd made over $4,000. Ethan had sent me $1,000 a month at first, then bumped it up to $1,500 when he started making more. He said he'd put me through school, and he meant it. He went all in. He still had friends at the high school, so he knew exactly what FEs were coming up. He knew I'd never ask him for money, so he just sent it every time. I couldn't possibly spend that much. $3 for breakfast, 10 for cafeteria lunch, 5 for dinner, a few hundred a month tops. The day I paid him back all the money was the same day exam scores came out. He sat with me while I checked. When he saw my score, he was over the moon. If my daughter gets grades this good someday, I don't even know if I'll be this happy. I rolled my eyes. So dumb. What kind of comparison even was that? I grabbed a throw pillow and whacked him with it. He ducked and covered his head. Hey, what gives? I can't be happy now? We were both happy though. We drank half a six-pack of beer, just munching on peanuts. Scores this good. You gonna go to the East Coast? Ivy League stuff? Nope. I knew my limits. Big fancy cities were full of brilliant people. I just fade into the background there. I wanted to stay in state, go to school in the city. So where exactly are you going? Xi'an University, if you come too. We can split rent. He sat bolt upright, staring at me. I don't want to live in the dorms. Renting a place means I can work more on my own schedule, and there are tons of tattoo parlors near the university district, lots of clients. You'd find work easy. He looked at me all shy. Like a nervous newlywed, you already planned everything out before you even asked me. So you coming or not? Hell yeah, I am. I helped him pick out new clothes, ditched all that try-hard punk stuff, simple oversized tees, well-fitted pants, even with the blonde hair. He looked ruggedly handsome. Plus, with his skills, he was already the star artist at the boss's shop. Tons of recent grad girls came in just to get tattooed by him. When he said he was leaving, the boss wasn't happy about it. Asked if he was gonna open his own place. None of the boss's apprentices stayed long, 2 years max. Then they'd strike out on their own once they were trained. He'd figured Ethan would too, just not this soon, less than a year in. Fine, go, the boss said. But you can't open up shop anywhere around these blocks. Didn't want his own apprentice stealing all his business. After all, it's not that, Ethan said. I'm moving to the city with Peach. The boss asked if we were dating. Ethan looked horrified. Come on, man. What are you talking about? The boss rambled on for a minute. Cut the crap. You don't like her? You're paying for her school for nothing? You don't like her? You're moving across the state just 'cause she is? But I'm telling you, no degree, and the gap between you two's just gonna get bigger. Make as much money as you can. Give yourself something to bring to the table. But let's be real, you two aren't right for each other. I'm just saying, I don't like her like that. She's just like a little sister to me. I heard every word. I just finished tutoring a student nearby and stopped by to catch a ride home on his scooter. I was a little surprised. He didn't like me. Fair enough. I wasn't some heartbreaker that everyone had to fall for. I spoke up. He really doesn't. Says watching me do well in school makes him feel like his kid's making something of herself. The boss gave us both a weird, unreadable look and left. Ethan looked awkward for a second. Don't listen to him. I know. You're not weirded out, right? I don't have any weird feelings. I just want you to keep studying. Grades like yours? It'd be a waste to quit. I know. Hope I'm not getting in the way of you finding a girlfriend or anything, girlfriend. I'm broke as hell. Come on. Let's go home. He really was responsible though. $1,500 a month to someone he wasn't even related to. Plenty of married guys didn't even give their wives that much a month. I wondered how much he'd make someday, and how much he'd think was enough to give his wife. The wind hit my face as we rode. The smell of spicy street noodle bowls, grilled skewers, fried skewers, and spicy grilled noodle wraps drifted toward us. Turned out Ethan had taken us to the food street. He put his kickstand down and looked back at me. Order whatever you want. My treat celebrating my daughter getting into college. Shut up. I punched him lightly on the shoulder. I placed my order. Spicy noodle bowl, fried skewers, grilled noodle wrap, chi-chi. He pretended to be annoyed. You're not my little bird appetite Peach anymore. Then he went and bought all of it, one by one. Was he actually serious about treating me like his kid? This guy was so weird. Anyone reading this far would probably think Ethan was just a total softie, right? Helped everyone. Anyone could talk him out of half his money. But that wasn't the whole story. I'd thought he was truly all alone. No family left at all. Turns out he had an uncle and his family. He'd cut them off years ago to keep them from leeching off him. But when they heard he was paying for some random girl's school, they showed up looking for money. Ethan had a baby nephew, just turned 1. His uncle and aunt had just raised their son to adulthood. And then his wife moved in too, same age, same deadbeat, both living off the old folks. They were just about to get both of them out working and self-sufficient when the couple had a baby during their senior year of college, when classes were light, left the baby with the grandparents to raise while they lived it up in the city, eating well and spending freely. Never sent any money home, so his aunt decided she'd leech off Ethan instead. Look at your little nephew, so cute. He's turning 1 soon. Aren't you gonna get him something, his own uncle? Look at this bracelet on his wrist. Over 3 grand. She was hinting hard anything less than 3,000 wouldn't cut it. Ethan, sweetie, I heard you're paying for some girl's school. Why waste money on a stranger? Family's what matters. We should all be living well together. You're still young. You don't know how to save. Give your salary to me, auntie, and I'll put it away for you. When you get married someday, I'll take care of everything. I heard every word from the bedroom. I didn't want to come out, didn't want to get in the middle of it. But I was this close to stepping in. Was Ethan just gonna stand there and take it? This woman was practically rubbing her greed in his face. I was just about to walk out when Ethan snapped. He threw a full-on screaming fit. No shame at all, ran out into the hallway and yelled at the top of his lungs. This was an old apartment building, his dad's old place, over 10 years ago, when his aunt's family had nowhere to go. They'd moved in here and lived with them for years. Then when Ethan's dad got sick, they never even showed up. Everyone in the neighborhood knew it. So now Ethan was yelling at his aunt, loud enough for everyone to hear, laying out every last thing. She couldn't take the public humiliation and left. When Ethan came back inside, I was putting my phone away. Does anyone else know you're the type to throw a full-on tantrum to win? He threatened and cajoled, but I never showed him I hadn't actually been recording. I hadn't taken a single video. I felt too bad for him to laugh. That night I made hot pot, we ate and talked, and I learned just how hard Ethan's life had been. It was a miracle he'd never gone down a bad path, and yet he was still so driven, so good. People called him a delinquent cause he had that laid-back, don't-care attitude. Out of all the things delinquents do, all he'd ever done was dye his hair blonde. That was it. He got drunk, tears at the corners of his eyes, and passed out on the couch. I looked at him, so he didn't help just anyone. He'd been holding in so much hurt. This was the first time he'd ever let it show. I wiped the tears from his face, helped him up, and led him to bed. Life in the city was smooth sailing for me. I was still a student, not fully out in the real world, so I never felt any of that harsh adult cruelty he did though. He'd just gotten a job at a new tattoo parlor, good-looking, skilled, great at designing delicate pieces. Female clients loved him, and with me handling marketing, he got tons of bookings, but the other guys there were way more jealous than any woman. One by one, they started sabotaging him. Ethan was straightforward though. He knew he was taking their clients, so he'd even recommend other artists to customers, tell them those guys were good too. They didn't appreciate it. They'd go out drinking without him, spend the whole night plotting how to mess with him. Nobody can stand co-workers who act nice to your face and stab you in the back. Nobody can stand being left out on purpose. Ethan put up with it for a long time. I watched him get more and more worn down, and it hurt, but I didn't know how to ask about it. I just waited for him to bring it up himself. He never said anything about how badly they treated him, just said he wanted to sell the old apartment and open his own shop. I supported him 100%. I didn't have much, but I'd saved up 10,000, and I gave it all to him, and lucky for us, someone had inside info. The apartment had been rezoned for a top-rated school district, so it sold for way more than expected. He hated to let it go, but you have to move forward, not stay stuck in the past. As soon as the money came through, he started planning the shop, and that's where my marketing genius came in. Let me tell you, my account did photo and design shares. His leaned into the hot artist vibe, and we pulled in a flood of female clients. The shop took off fast. We made back the initial investment in about a year. By my junior year of college, he was driving a Range Rover. I was so jealous. I joked about dropping out to become his tattoo apprentice. Like hell, he said. I worked my ass off to put you through school. You're finishing. For that? He got 8 consecutive kicks to the leg. He tossed the keys at me. Take it for a spin. Have fun. Neither of us ever brought up our feelings though. I mean, who talks about love when you're still struggling to get by? But now that we were comfortable, still nothing. It was like we both knew we mattered to each other, that we couldn't live without each other. Something bigger than romance, but not romantic either, or so it felt. Things shifted between us near the end of my junior year. I was terrible at relationships, honestly, friendships, romantic stuff, all of it. I was your classic icy beauty. You might not have guessed it from everything so far, but with strangers, total ice queen. I was capable, self-sufficient, didn't need anyone. To most guys, I was the unobtainable type, too hard to pin down, so most guys didn't even try, not until junior year. When one bold underclassman finally confessed to me, sweet, earnest guy, brave kid came prepared. Flowers, candles, a necklace, bracelet, and promise ring set, the whole works. He rambled through his whole confession, and I asked him, if I say no, what are you gonna do with all that jewelry? Dunno, he said. I didn't think about it. I smiled faintly. Well, think about it. I turned him down. He blew out the candles, tossed them in the trash, stuffed the jewelry back in his pocket, and walked out with me, holding the flowers himself. He insisted on walking me home. Fine. Let him. If I said no again, he might have cried then. Downstairs at my place, he said. I figured out the jewelry. I'll return it. Get new stuff for my next girlfriend. Huh? Good for him, taking it well. But Ethan saw the whole thing. He drove his Range Rover slow circles around the kid from halfway down the block. Then he rolled down the window. Our peach rides in a Range Rover. Yick no, don't even try if you don't got one. The kid looked at me. Is that your brother? My brother? Hardly. The kid left. I didn't say a word, just turned and headed inside. Ethan trailed after me. All kicked puppy. Once you go luxury, you can't go back, right? Don't date some broke kid. At least get a guy with a Range Rover, and he'd better buy his wife her own car too, right? Ethan suddenly held out his palm, keys resting there. Bought you a BMW, picked it up today. I stared at him, shocked. What am I to you, that you'd buy me a car? A BMW, no less. I had no words. If you take the keys, he said. You're my wife. I took him. But I didn't take the car. It cost hundreds of thousands. What would that make me? This guy. The second he has extra money, he buys cars. Like cars put food on the table. But if I didn't drive it, it'd just sit there. So I started driving it to work. People said I was a rich kid. I'd just nod and go, yep, sure am. Coworkers would butter me up, joke that I should treat them to the $699 seafood buffet. I'd laugh and say, I'm thrifty where it counts. When I spend on myself, I'm rich. When I spend on you guys, I'm dead broke. Truth was, I was bad at office politics too, and I hated backing down. If someone messed with me once, I'd hit back 3 times as hard. I hadn't always been like that. Used to not have the guts. Probably picked it up from Ethan. As soon as my internship ended, I quit. That made me even more determined to take the civil service exam. Government jobs were full of schemers too, full of petty politics, but at least they were stable, a job for life. Turns out I'm just good at studying. I passed, scored really high, actually, got placed at a government office right here in the city, got lucky too, ended up with a great boss. Life just kept going smoothly. 9 to 4, 2-hour lunch break, pretty cushy gig. My delinquent guy loved spending money now that he had it. We lived together, and he even hired a housekeeper. It all started 'cause I'd bring him lunch sometimes. Sometimes he'd work on a full back piece for hours on end, pull all-nighters. I worried about him, so I'd bring him food. Once I cut my finger cooking for him. That same week he finished 3 full back pieces in a row, exhausted, but rolling in cash, so he hired a housekeeper. Maybe we'd already suffered all the hard times when we were young. Everything after that just kept getting better. The housekeeper was great, hardworking, kept to herself, never asked questions, earned every penny, took good care of both of us. It was hard to believe. The girl who used to barely get enough to eat was now living a soft, easy life. How much of that was me? How much was him? 40% me, 60% him. I knew it deep down, thinking about our first time. All those things I'd read online, they turned out to be true. Lean guys have strength, sure, but zero technique. Our first time, I was crying from the pain, and he was crying from panic, and he was too gentle to push through. I had to take matters into my own hands before we finally got it right. We were both 21 back then, too late. I thought I'd missed his prime. Afterward, he carried me to the bath, changed the sheets, and when we finally laid down to sleep, he jolted straight up. I asked where he was going. He beelined for the bathroom. Your underwear has to be hand-washed. Can't leave it overnight. I'll wash it quick then come back to bed. I was so embarrassed back then. I snuck to the bathroom to watch him. He wasn't grumbling about it, wasn't doing it with a scowl. He was smiling, humming a little tune, washing them like it was the nicest thing in the world. But I was too shy to say anything. I turned to run, but he saw me. He wiped his hands off, carried me back to bed, and we fell asleep curled up together. I sighed. He asked what was wrong. I missed your prime, Yikno. Ethan perked up immediately. I'm always in my prime. Oh, sure, big talk. But I didn't dare tease him too much. Knew he'd try to prove it tonight. And I had work tomorrow. The easier life gets, the lazier you get. It's just human nature. I could barely drag myself to my cushy office job, especially in winter, could never get out of bed, and the heating in the city was terrible. Ethan had been coddling me lately, helped me get dressed, drove me to work, picked me up when it was time to go home. I kept complaining about not wanting to go, and one day he said, "Why don't you just quit?" "Like hell I will," I said, sitting up straight and getting dressed myself. Every woman needs her own income. What if we split up? Get divorced? How am I supposed to live? That hurt him. He didn't talk to me for days. It was just the truth. I had no idea he'd get that upset. When I asked why he was mad, he started crying. How can you just say stuff like that? Split up? Get divorced? Is that what you think about? You wouldn't say it if you didn't mean it deep down, right? That means you've thought about leaving me. I racked my brain. What did I do wrong? Why do you want to break up with me? Wait, what? When did I say I wanted to break up, dude? I never said that. Don't put words in my mouth. I just said it's a possibility. It's called being prepared. Better safe than sorry. He kept pressing, asking what he'd done wrong. When I'd started feeling that way, he pulled me into his arms mid-rant. Tell me if I'm not treating you right. I'll fix it. Just don't say things like that. Ever? It was the first time I ever said it. Once is too many. I couldn't make him understand. I was just being realistic. Love comes fast and goes fast. You never know. But seeing him all red-faced and crying, I dropped it. After that, he treated me even better. Terrified that if he slacked off even a little, I'd decide to leave, which was so unfair. I never would. But with the housekeeper taking care of the house, and my delinquent guy tucking me in, dressing me, putting my socks on for me, life was pretty amazing. I never bothered to set him straight. He liked doing it anyway. Getting married felt like the natural next step. Having a kid too. We didn't use birth control after we got married. Figured if it happened, it happened. But I didn't expect to go on maternity leave just 6 months after my wedding leave. My first month postpartum was brutal. Morning sickness had been awful. Then I'd eaten so much I'd gained too much weight. The doctor told me I had to cut back, but I was craving everything, all day long. One minute I wanted this, the next I wanted that. Ethan ran all over the city, east side to west side, getting me whatever I wanted. Never once complained, even if I only took one bite. He was just happy I'd eaten something. Who knew pregnancy would be so rough, but labor would be easy. Got an epidural. It was over fast, barely any suffering. We had a little girl. So by 28, we'd checked both marriage and kids off the list. Neither of us had much family. My dad couldn't take care of a baby, hated big cities, and his health was bad. He came to visit less than twice a year. We raised her ourselves, figuring it out as we went. But honestly, he did most of the work. He adored our daughter. He'd taken care of her almost since the day she was born. Sometimes he'd bring her to the shop. When he was doing small pieces, he'd carry her on his back. Clients teased him all the time for it. But who wouldn't be jealous? He had the prettiest little girl, big grape-like eyes. One look from her and your heart melted. Her first word was mama. I laughed and bragged to him about it. He just held me and said, "Of course it was. You worked so hard to have her." She got his looks and his brains. When she got an 18 on her math test, he was furious. I was bad at math, but I never got an 18. I went to no, one high, for crying out loud, but she was just grinning up at him, and he couldn't stay mad. "Daddy, don't be mad yet," she said. "You should ask me about my English score first." We exchanged a look. All right, maybe she aced English. Maybe there was hope. Ethan put on a silly high voice. "Well then, baby, what did you get in English?" She held up one finger. "Oh, great, 100 in English. That's something. Maybe we'd have a little writer in the family." Then she said, "1 point. Our whole world crashed. We had no idea what to do. School just wasn't her thing, but she was healthy at least. She had the face of a perfect little princess and the chaotic energy of a tiny tornado, climbing everything, getting into everything, total handful." We realized we couldn't count on her supporting herself someday, so Ethan worked even harder. Saving up more for her was the smart move. Better to push yourself than push your kid. So Ethan threw himself into designing more than ever. He used to care about the art of it. Now, highest bidder gets the slot. Our daughter was wild. When she was 15, she decided all on her own that she wanted to go to a top boarding school back east. As much as it hurt to let her go, we had to. Money wasn't an issue. Ethan had made so much over the years. We just hated the thought of her being so far away, worried we wouldn't be there if something happened. But she was her own person first, our daughter second. It was hard to adjust at first, but after 15 years, having the house to ourselves again, it was pretty great. I guess looks. How fast you age. It's mostly genetics either way. Ethan still looked almost the same to me, and he actually had a skincare routine, better technique than mine. Even, I asked him once why he was so careful with his skin when most guys didn't care at all. "Gotta take care of myself," he said. "So when we're middle-aged, you don't leave me for some young guy, please," I said. "You just wanna hit on 20-year-olds when we're old." "Nah," Ethan said. "Guys with daughters don't think like that." I knew he never would, but other guys would. Not every man was as responsible, as moral, as him. Turned out, even past 40, he still looked just as good as ever. When you're loved well, you know what love feels like. I could feel it. Ethan never changed, never stopped loving me. One day he picked me up from work. I could tell we weren't going home. "It's a surprise," he said, whistling all cocky. When we got there, turns out it was a couple's hotel. The older we got, the more unapologetic we became. No embarrassment, just pure, unhurried pleasure. People say men go downhill after 25. That's not true at all. Stick to good habits, keep exercising, and you can keep up with the kids. Endurance just as good, technique perfect. It was perfect for both of us. At the end of the day, people only want a few things in life: respect, comfort, cars, a house, money, and someone to share it all with. Most people won't say it, but a long, happy marriage is all about compatible kinks, and we were more than happy to keep each other satisfied. With the kid gone, our 3,200 square foot house was just the two of us. We had all the space in the world. Well, almost. There was one small change. Now we just passed out afterward. Back in the day, we'd have gotten up and cleaned everything up first. He'd curl up in my arms like a little kid. Ethan's work was tough on his body, 20-some years in, and he had all kinds of aches and pains. Luckily, our girl was self-sufficient. She was financially independent at 18. With less to worry about, Ethan slowed down. Even when he slowed down, he couldn't sit still, tinkered around the house, kept busy. It was just the two of us now, so we let the housekeeper go. Neither of us was a neat freak. Good enough was good enough. He stayed home, tittied up, cooked dinner, picked me up from work. Occasionally, very occasionally, he'd stop by the studio. The best thing about government work? Barely any turnover, same people, year after year. Over a decade together. Geez, all these years later, you two are still like newlyweds. Teased again. I preened a little. Well, I'm still just as pretty as I used to be. My coworker kicked me lightly in the butt. Shut up, you're 45. Have some dignity. We laughed and said goodbye. I got in the car, and Ethan kissed my forehead. Guess what I made for dinner tonight? A full imperial feast? Actually, I haven't made anything yet. Haha, what do you want to eat? Husband's treat. I didn't really have a craving. I just suddenly missed the food street. The noise, the smell, the life of it. Fried skewers, grilled skewers, spicy noodle bowls, grilled noodle wraps. Wanted to try all of it. So much had changed. We'd gone from a scooter to a nice car. Back then I sat behind him, holding on. Now we sat side by side. But the person next to me, still the same. Come on then, Ethan said. Yeah, I said. Hey there. Could you rate this story in the comments? Use a scale of 1 to 10. Please, I'm begging you. It really means a lot to me. And if you like this kind of content, don't forget to hit follow.